What I'm going to show you right now is really how to make every adversity and every challenge actually work for you and use it as a stepping stone for greater success and abundance. Would you like that? All right, cool. A lot of times people get sad or upset when things happen that do not align with their preferences. For example, there might be disappointment in your life, your business. You might have some sort of tragedy. You might even have a crisis. Lord knows I had. When these things happen, most of the time, you start to feel some sort of negative emotion. Now, here's the thing about negative emotion. All it means is that life is not conforming to your preferences. So we all have these preferences, the way we would prefer things to happen, the way we would prefer life to work out. You would prefer that you had a lot of money. You would prefer that you were in better shape. You would prefer that you accomplished a goal. You would prefer that shorty didn't leave you. These are just all your preferences. And when life does not conform to your preferences, we call them tragedies, disappointments, or crisis. And these cause negative emotion. Are you guys following me right now? This is very important. Here's what you need to understand. There's no version of reality where the entire world and everyone in it and every circumstance is going to conform to all of your preferences. It just won't happen. Therefore, you will always have crises, tragedies, and disappointments simply because the world will not conform to your preferences. So some people will say, maybe you should change your preferences, lower your expectations. If you lower your expectations, then there's less opportunity for disappointment. That's true, but that's sucker shit. What we want to do is to become more resilient because these things are going to happen. Your next tragedy, disappointment, crisis is around the corner. You're going to keep running into them. There's never a point where it's like, no problems ever. And every once in a while, I have these moments where there's not really any problems and everything's good. I try to soak up those moments because I know looming off into the distance is the next crisis or disappointment. So how do you deal with this in a way where it doesn't control your emotion? Because negative emotions is not what we want. Like everybody wants to be happy or happier. You prefer to be in a good mood. So what we want to do is when life does not conform to our preferences, what we want to do is instead of looking at it like it's a tragedy or a crisis or disappointment, we want to look at it like this is a opportunity. Opportunity for what, might you ask? This is an opportunity to practice virtue. What kind of virtue? Let's say someone crosses you. You might get mad and pissed initially, but what I do is I reframe it as an opportunity to practice forgiveness or an opportunity to practice patience. For example, maybe 2 weeks ago, I was flying from Atlanta to Miami. It was an early flight and it was first class and all that shit. And I get to the gate and they just closed it, right? Thought I had enough time, but they just closed the gate. It's FAA rules. They will not open the gate again once it's closed. And for a second, I got upset. I was like, fuck, man. The next flight, they might not have first class. They're going to put me in coach with the poor people and the babies. But I said to myself, all right, this is a really good opportunity for me to practice emotional resilience. How do you develop the attribute of resilience? How do you develop stoicism? How do you develop forgiveness if you don't practice it? The answer is you don't. If your life is just an unbroken boulevard of green lights and you never encounter any resistance or opposition, then you become soft. And then the first disappointment, tragedy, or crisis, you'll fall apart unless you practice stoicism, unless you practice emotional stability. When these things come up, this is the opportunity for you to practice. This is how you get better. Whatever you're going through now, it will not be the last thing you're gonna go through. I don't wanna sound morbid. Everyone you know is gonna die unless you die first. Everything is temporary. Nothing lasts forever. There's a lot of tragedy on the horizon. How are you gonna deal with that if you can't deal with traffic, if you can't deal with the little things or anything that comes up? When you reframe these things as opportunities to practice these attributes that make you stronger, for me, it takes away a lot of the negative emotion and I get a little excited about it. Like, all right, it's an opportunity for me to practice patience. And because I'm practicing now, the next time this happens, it's not if, it's when. The next time this happens, it'll be easier for me to handle it. And if something bigger happens, I'll be more prepared for it than I was before. See people crying because somebody said something about them online or they're getting hated on. Yeah. Imagine what it's like having people making like 40-minute videos about you. And then all their fans commenting about how much you suck. And then they go onto your YouTube page and start commenting on your Facebook and then on your Instagram. Just like, yeah, it's an opportunity for me to practice stoicism. And then the next time it happened to me, it wasn't a big deal. I was able to handle it a lot better. To the point now, it's like, it's not really nothing, right? But I wouldn't be that strong had I not met that resistance and took it head on and embraced it. Growing up in Chicago, man, I just put in my face and shit, right? Because of that, like, some of the little shit, traffic, is not something I'm gonna cry over. I don't say that to say I'm better than you or better than anyone else. I say that to say, listen, if you start viewing these things as opportunities to get stronger, you're gonna get significantly stronger. So in closing, step one, realize that life will never conform to all your preferences. Other humans will never conform to all your preferences. So the fact that you even desire it is childish. And then two, look at that as opportunity to practice an attribute, to practice a trait that will be advantageous for you going forward, to practice the kind of traits that you want to teach your children. It'll take a lot of the negative sting out of these. You'll be able to be calmer and then not necessarily happy it happened, but you'll be able to see a silver lining in it. When my father killed himself, I experienced some negative emotions, but I definitely looked at, all right, now's the time to show what I'm made of. And now it's time to step up. That's how you find out who you are, what you're made of in the face of adversity. So I implore you to face it head on and embrace it. You don't have to go looking for it. And I'm not saying you can't be upset initially, right? But pull yourself together and handle it.